Now let us take some extra important questions other from the textbooks. In what ways do pressure groups and movements exert influence on politics? So, like an interest group, a movement also, this Andolan group also attempts to influence politics rather than directly taking part in the politics like electoral competition. But unlike these interest groups, movements have a loose organization. It's not a very strong organization, means everything is quite loose. So their decision making is more informal and flexible. They don't form any meeting or some generalized or very formalized manner. They depend much more on spontaneous mass participation than an interest groups. Describe the forms of relationship between the pressure groups and the political parties. So in most cases, the relationship between these political parties and interest or movement groups, they are not so direct. They often take positions that are opposed to each other. But still they have some dialogue and negotiation, बातचीत जारी रहती है. Movement groups have raised new issues that have been taken up by the political parties. And most of the new leadership of political parties comes from interest or movement groups only. Explain how the activities of pressure groups are useful in functioning of a democratic government. So the pressure groups and the movements, they have deepened or strengthened the democracy. Putting pressure, applying pressure on the rulers is not an unhealthy activity in a democracy. As long as everyone gets a chance to put a pressure of their demands. So governments can often come under undue pressure from a small group of rich and powerful people. Generally, we see that they give a lot of donation. So public interest groups and movements, they perform very useful, vital role of countering this undue influence and reminding the government of the needs and concerns of the ordinary citizens, especially the marginalized communities and groups. What is a pressure group? Give a few examples. So pressure groups, these are organizations that attempt to influence government policies. But unlike political parties, they are not aiming to gain the political power. These organizations are formed when people with common occupation, interests, aspirations, opinions, एक आकांक्षा है, एक इच्छाएं, come together in order to achieve a common objective. The struggle in Nepal was called a movement for democracy. So we often hear the word people's movement to describe many forms of collective action. For example, the Narmada Bachao Andolan headed by Medha Patkarji, movement to right to information that actually gave rise to 2005 RTI Act, then anti-liquor movement, that is why in Gujarat and in Bihar, in various other states, there is no liquor is banned. Women movement, that is why we had this triple talaq. Environmental movement like the Chipko Andolan, etc. What is the difference between a pressure group and a political party? So the basic difference is that pressure groups are not aimed to gain power, while political parties are there only to gain power. So pressure groups are organizations that attempt to influence the government policies, as we have seen, but unlike political parties, these PGs do not aim to directly control or share political power. These organizations are formed when people with common occupation, interest, aspiration and opinions come together in order to achieve a common objective. So in certain instances, the pressure groups are either formed or led by the leaders of political parties or act as some extended arms, shakha of political parties. For instance, most trade unions and student organizations in India, they are either established by or affiliated to or linked to one or the other major political party. Most of the leaders of such pressure groups, they are usually activists and leaders of the party. Sometimes political parties grow out of movements. For example, the SM movement led by the students against the foreigners or the immigrants, illegal immigrants, came to an end. It led to the formation of Assam Gan Parishad. The roots of parties like the DMK, the AIDMK and also the Aam Aadmi Party in Tamil Nadu, this Aam Aadmi Party is in Delhi. So this AIADMK, DMK in Tamil Nadu, they have come only from the groups only, social reform movement during the 1930s and 1940s. Organizations that undertake activities to promote the interests of specific social sections such as workers, employees, teachers and lawyers. These are called the sectional interest groups. Which among the following is a special feature that distinguishes a pressure group from a political party? So we have already seen. Pressure groups do not seek to get power. They don't want to get into politics and gain power. While political parties, they only want power, right? They only want to be in the government. What were the three demands that were made by the SPA, 7-party alliance in Nepal? So the three demands, first was the restoration of parliament, the second was power to an all-party government, and third was a new constituent assembly. So the question here is, I'll just tell you about the question. This is about Bolivia. This is about Bolivia. So let me just tell you about what happened there. So the World Bank pressurized the government of Bolivia. So the question, let me tell you, this is about what is Bolivia's water war. The question is like this. So let me answer this. The World Bank, because Bolivia has taken a lot of money from World Bank, now World Bank pressurized Bolivia, which is actually a poor country in Latin America, to give up its control of municipal water supply and give it to the MNCs. So these rights were sold for the city of Cochabamba to an MNC, multinational company, Bahurashtriya company, and the cost of water were increased. So it was increased 4 times. And people who are earning 5,000 rupees, for example, they have to pay 1,000 rupees for the water only. So there was protest among the people, since 1/4 of the income had to be paid for water, as you see here. So in January 2000, a successful 4-day general strike was organized in the city by a new alliance of labor, human rights and community leaders. The strike was called off when the government actually agreed, okay, we'll negotiate. But in February 2000, since the government has not taken any action, the people agitated also. They again started protesting. But the police took a very brutal action. They started hitting people. In April 2000, another strike followed and the government imposed martial law. The officer of the MNC was forced to flee. These have to flee from the country and the city, Cochabamba. And the government was made to concede to all the demands of the protester due to the power of people who have come in the streets to fight for what injustice have been done to them. Water supply was restored to the municipality at old rates and the contract with the MNCs was cancelled. So this is called Bolivia's water war. Define pressure groups. So government policies, they are influenced by a few organizations like pressure groups. They don't aim to control or share power, unlike the political parties. So when people with common occupation, interests, aspirations and opinions, they come together in order to achieve a common objective, these organizations are formed pressure groups. Write a brief note on the Narmada Bachao Andolan. So Narmada Bachao Andolan in India was a issue-specific movement. So the specific issue of this movement was the displacement of the people by the creation of Sardar Sarovar Dam on the Narmada River in Gujarat. Its objective was to stop the dam from being constructed, but it actually was constructed. It gradually became a wider movement that questioned all such big dams all over the country and the model of development that required such dams.